It's their insecurities, not mine. When are you getting married? You're not getting any younger. Then you get married. Then when are you gonna have a child? When sometimes the external voice is too loud. So you cannot listen to your own inner voice. Hello and welcome to another episode of Bold Moves, the podcast where we empower women to be bold, be brave and be you. I'm your host, Ayu, and today we're going to talk about a topic that is interesting, is a profound topic that many will resonate with, which is stop living out of people's expectations. I'm going to start with a story. In my early 20s, I made a brave decision that actually changed the course of my life. So I decided to study overseas alone in Australia, pursuing my master's degree. And I want you to know, and this is important, I'm coming from a different background. I grew up with a culture where women are expected or encouraged to follow very traditional societal norms, values, and expectations. And one of those expectations is actually women. So they have to travel with their family members, especially the men. Or after you get married. Okay, imagine me at that time. I was probably 21 or 21 and a half, something like that. And getting married was not my option at that time. And guess what? I'm the youngest in my family, a girl and the youngest in my family. So imagine that time. So the whisper was so loud. Something like, how are you going to survive alone? Or why Australia? It's too far. Why don't you choose somewhere that is closer so it's easier? Or you're a woman, it's too much to handle. Or something like, really, literally something like, can you survive really like overseas alone? And how are you going to do this? So at that time, it was scary, of course. But I knew that I needed this. I knew that I needed that event of my life. And it's not just so much about the study or seeing the world, which is like probably the best experience that I had. And it's so much more about me, about how could I handle this? And I could, it's a proof that I could handle this, and I could live without other people's fear and limitations. It's their insecurities, not mine. So, have you ever had this kind of experience before? Have you ever felt this way before, where your life is actually full with a lot of expectations from others? I have, and I think you have. A lot of women have this kind of story in their life, because of, it's just something that in our society normally happens, where you live because, you've got expectations or from families, from friends, from the whole society. So today we're going to dig into this topic, and how can we stop to live out of, people's expectations and start creating our own path. Okay, so the first tip is to recognize the societal expectations. So in many cultures, especially in Asian countries, women are often asked this kind of questions. Are you ready? When are you getting married? You're not getting any younger. Then you get married. Then when are you going to have a child? When you're going to raise a family? This is the time for you to build a family. When you're going to have your first child? after that, when are you going to have the second child? The first one needs sibling, or something like, why your husband is cooking, it should be you, or why you focus so much on your career. Start creating families. A lot of things that or this, when will you quit your job and starting a family? Or why are you quitting your job? Why did you quit? You should help your husband in this economy. And a lot of questions, and on and on and on. The list is never stopping. So let me tell you what. After that, these questions are dangerous for you. If you let this get into you, it will shape the way you think. It will shape the way you do stuff. It will shape the way, the way you do things daily, and it will get into you if you let them. My advice is to just ignore that. Just ignore these kind of questions or statements from family, friends, society if you don't think it's valuable. It's valuable for you. So, and I will give you an example for this topic is take Malala Yousafzai. So, despite the societal expectations to remain silent and being uneducated, Malala chose to fight for her rights to get education. And she did. And I love her. She's really amazing. And imagine if Malala didn't listen to herself, if she, she's now actually in UK. She's studying, I think she finished her master's degree, pursuing her master's degree. And it didn't just change her life. It inspired millions of women around the world. Imagine that. How amazing things that she's doing. So she ignored the whole societal expectations and she just kept going. She knew what she wanted. So if you want to know more about Malala, it's very interesting. Her book is also very good. So check on that one. And two, knowing yourself. Knowing your desire, understanding your own desire. This is very interesting, actually. Once in a while, you should ask yourself a question. What do I truly want? What do I really want in life? And it's a very important question that you should ask yourself once in a while. It's your inner voice, and it's always in there. Mine at that time with the story was I knew that I wanted to be more independent, and I just know I wanted more. And there is something, this is called gut feeling. My gut feeling at that time was really strong, and I couldn't really explain it, but there was a strong force within me, saying that I was destined for more. Like I was not meant to be just stay in my city all of my life. And again, find your inner voice. It's always there. It's always there. You just need to tune into that. I know it's sometimes difficult, asking that kind of question to yourself, but you need it to. And listen to this one. This is very important, and I want you to pay attention to what I say right now. Sometimes the external voice, the outer voice, is too loud. So you cannot listen to your own inner voice. And it's your job, it's my job, it's our job actually, because we are the only one who can turn down the volume of that outer voice, the external voice. Turn it down and tune into more to your own voice. Turn it up. Turn up the volume of your own voice. This is very important. That's how you train yourself to listen more to what you want in life, to listen to yourself so much more, because sometimes the world is too loud for us, and if we let them, it's going to bury us down, and it's difficult to find ourselves. And That's why I challenge you to find your inner voice, your own voice, so you know what you want in life, so you know what you desire in life. I'm giving you an example of this one. So there is a woman activist from Saudi. It's Manal Al Sharif. So she's a woman activist that fighting for women's right to drive in Saudi Arabia. She was imprisoned for 9 days for her movement. But imagine if she didn't listen to her inner voice. After the first arrest, she wouldn't be doing that movement. She wouldn't continue to do that movement. But she listened to herself. And now the women in Saudi Arabia can drive. Can you imagine how powerful that force is if you really listen to yourself? And that is one thing that I want you to do, to listen, to tune into more to your own voice. Okay, and the third step is to living authentically. This is very important because living authentically means that you set the boundaries. Living authentically means you understand yourself more. You embrace your uniqueness. You embrace yourself, even though when it feels uncomfortable. So like when I remember the first time I explained to my family why I'm going abroad, it was uncomfortable. Of course, it wasn't received, or there was like resistance to it. But you know what? I had to do it. It was a critical step for me to let them know that this is what I wanted to do in life. And of course, it was uncomfortable, but it was needed. I mean, to tell them what I wanted to do in life. There are some examples that we can follow about this living authentically. Like, for example, J.K. Rowling. She faced a lot, when I say a lot, it's a lot of rejections before she published, Harry Potter. Can you imagine if she just stopped doing that for the first one? She got rejected. Imagine the world without Harry Potter. That doesn't sound good, isn't it? Another example could be Oprah. Her authenticity is just amazing. She's the way she is right now because her authenticity, her vulnerabilities actually inspire millions of women around the world. Her story, her authentic story, her authentic self, actually that's the one why she gives us so much inspiration. And another one could be Greta Thunberg, the young climate activist from Sweden. She started when she was little until now. She's just being authentic to herself, and she knows what she wanted to do, which is focusing on the environmental thing. So which is like difficult to do actually. But then when you really know yourself, that's what I wanted to do in life. There they are, doing their own thing, being themselves, and get recognition in this world, and inspired many and many and many people around the world. But if you want to listen to understand more about living authentically, I listened to my first episode of Bold Moves. In my first episode, I talk about simple tips to living your truth. So check that one out. Okay, back to the topic. So the last tip, the fourth tip, is actually setting your boundaries. I talked about this many times in my Instagram. Set your boundaries. Learning to say no as well. And also, not just learning to say no, and pay attention to the people that you're surrounding yourself with, your circle. Put that boundaries. If they're not healthy for you, then it's time to let them go. And I know it's easier said than done, but it's protecting yourself, your time, your energy, and you actually. Also, learning to say no. This is the hardest thing actually I had to learn. I had to relearn many things in my life, including learning to say no. And yes, it is very difficult to do, but it's possible if you wanted to do it. Learning to say no is protecting your time, protecting your energy, protecting yourself from distractions. Learn to say no is actually prioritizing yourself, and it's okay to prioritize yourself first. Because when you prioritize the external demands, the all yeses, then you're not protecting yourself, then you're not prioritizing yourself, and it could lead to burnout, depression, and a loss of your identity. So pay attention to learn how to say no, and set your boundaries with people that don't really serve you in your life. So there you have it, 4 tips to live out of people's expectations. I'm going to summarize it for you. So first is understanding the societal expectation. Yeah, so you understand what's the barrier. 2, understanding your own desires, your inner voice, like I told you before. Tune into the inner voice. 3rd one is to living authentically. And the 4th one is to set boundaries, like build that healthy boundaries with people around you. Okay, so I ask you to challenge all of the expectations you've been carrying. I asked you to challenge the expectations and imagine the freedom and the opportunities that's waiting for you once you do. In my story, it was study overseas alone, and it comes with beautiful, amazing experience I had in my life, and the personal growth as well. It taught me that I'm in control of my story and not living by the expectation of others. And also, I'll leave you with this powerful quote by Steve Jobs. Your time is limited. Your time is limited. So do not waste it by living someone else's life. Pretty powerful, hey? So thank you for tuning in to this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode of Bold Moves. And remember, your life is yours to live. So be bold, be brave, and be you. Bye.